Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me for this and a series of programs designed to look at our government, the people involved in our government, and the processes necessary for its operation. My name is Dan Arman, your host. Welcome to I Want to Know. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to our Superintendent of Schools, Scott Schoonmaker. Thank you for joining me.
Dan, it's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, you like my shirt, don't you?
I love the shirt. Super fan.
I am a super fan, like most of us in town. And there's a story behind this shirt. I ordered this shirt 3 months ago and was told it would be with my daughter, Jessica, 2 weeks from then. I got it 2 weeks ago. Why? Because she didn't even want to let it go. She didn't want to give it up to her father.
Okay.
I think you should give her detention for that.
I can take care of that, Dan. I think I have a connection there to the high school. So.
All right.
And I do think that's a very sharp T-shirt, so I understand her thought process.
It looks better on me than it would her anyways, I'm sure. So why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself to start?
Well, Dan, once again, thank you for having me on the show. I wish you the best of luck. I think it's great that you're out there educating the population as to how we function and the different roles that we play in making North Branford a great place to live and go to school. So good for you. I just completed my 9th year as superintendent of schools here in North Branford. I think I've tripled the average lifespan for longevity of a superintendent in
Good
town.
for you. Keep it going.
And,
keep it going.
It's been great to kind of sit back and reflect on some of the changes and things that have happened over the past 9 years. Prior to that, I was a high school principal in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, where I was the principal for 13 years. I also taught in the district for 5 years. I taught in a secure environment through DCF in Deep River for a couple of years. So I have a real varied background working with students of many different ability levels and culminating with, earning my administrative degrees to become a superintendent.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Assumption College in Worcester, Mass.
Very good.
I was a basketball player there.
I would hope.
As you can tell by my height. I did not play tennis, so at Assumption I participated for all 4 years. I was a scholarship basketball player, and then I was fortunate enough to play in South America upon graduation. That was my first job. I had an agent, and I was in San Bernardo, Brazil, playing basketball.
Have your kids followed in your sports footsteps?
I have 4 children. My 2 oldest boys are 6'5" and 6'6", and they are basketball players. They are choosing a different path for college. I have a son that committed to Michigan, so he'll be playing for the Wolverines.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting. And his younger brother, also a senior, is looking to go into the ROTC and serve in the Marine Corps with a plan of going on and working for an agency down the line.
Very good.
I'm very proud. I'm extremely proud of both of my boys that are getting ready to go off on the next venture. And I have twin 7th graders as well, a boy and girl. So
are they both 6'6"?
They're not quite 6'6" yet, but they're growing rapidly. So
very good. What does a superintendent do?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think it depends on who you ask if I get that answer.
True.
But
from your perspective.
From my perspective. You orchestrate, you oversee the daily operations of the entire district. We have over 200 employees in the district, and they vary from instructional paraprofessionals to our food service staff, our custodial maintenance crew, obviously our certified teachers and administrators. So I'm in charge, and I oversee probably one of the largest operations in the community. That being said...
Well, that's double the amount of employees the town side has.
That's right. So when you look at our budget, that incorporates everything into why the educational budget in a town is usually times 2, 3, 4 times what the town side is. So
plus, you're responsible for the infrastructure as well?
Absolutely. We have 5 buildings in the district. They're all 100,000 plus square feet. So you get into all of the infrastructure, maintenance issues, the technology, everything that goes along with it when it's 0 degrees or 90 degrees, and it's never dull. So it's an absolute team effort. I'm the person that it eventually will get to, and then I'm in charge of making sure that we're being fiscally responsible, we're staying within our budgetary guidelines, working with the town to make sure that we can share resources when we can to try to work together and problem solve.
How many students are in the district?
Right now, we're under 2,000 students. We're just over 1,700 students. We've seen a decline like every other town in New England over the last 10 years. It's interesting. We do quite a bit of analysis with enrollment, projected enrollment, when we make our decisions based upon class size and other things that we play out into our formula. And New England has seen a dramatic decrease in student enrollment. So we're always evaluating that. We're always making decisions based around, the best interest of our students.
Okay, so then that brings us to what makes the world turn, money. Why don't you tell me what your budget is and what that entails?
Okay, it's a complex process when you look at some of the things that I touched on earlier with the maintenance of all of these buildings with capital projects, all being aside from the teaching aspect that goes on each and every day for the 1,700 students.
Right.
So we build a budget based upon our strategic plan. And our strategic plan is our roadmap. It's our passport to future successes. So in that, we try to incorporate a lot of ideas and cutting edge ideas for things that are happening around us to prepare our students for whatever they endeavor upon completion of their 12 years in the school system. So when doing that, we obviously are in tune with the state of the state, with federal monies that get absorbed and trickle down to us. And I have to, as you're aware, it's been frustrating. We didn't have a state budget until June. We were into the summer, and we rely heavily on our ECS, the Ed Cost Sharing monies. In a town with a budget of $31 million, we get just under $8 million. So we rely so heavily on that. If that is impacted in any way, shape, or form, that money falls back on the responsibility of the taxpayers,
right,
or funding through local government.
That's $31 million of a $51 million budget.
Yeah, so it's
the majority of the budget, like it is in any town.
Right. It's the lion's share, and the lion's share is based upon salaries and medical benefits.
Sure.
So
sure, which medical benefits is like a big part of the pie.
Absolutely.
In and of itself.
Absolutely.
Can you explain a little bit about ECS and how that formula is derived?
It varies by town, and it's been the question of is it a fair funding formula, and that discussion has been a hot topic in Hartford with many of the legislators and administrators, superintendents for a number of years. You can go to neighboring towns that get $100,000 to $200,000, and they're affluent communities. They have obviously less of a worry with what happens to those monies. Many of the towns, I think, are going to do away from it. It's not worth it for them to
rely on something that's so unpredictable.
Unpredictable and really not worth it. Where in North Branford, for us to absorb, if you're looking at $8 million, that's astronomical. In our budget, a $300,000 increase equates to about 1%, a 1% increase in our budget. So this year, we're looking at, just to maintain our current budget, we're just over $1 million. Just to keep my current staffing levels, everything the same, not adding any new positions, we're over $1 million. So we're at 3.85% flatline. Mm-hmm. When you look at the positions that we've added 2 instructional coaches that we feel are critical at our middle school level, which we do not currently have. We're over 4% for just adding those 2 positions.
Right.
And that's a number that I understand people that are listening this evening saying, my gosh, 3%, what does that entail? And when you look at everything that wraps into building a budget, special ed costs, outplacements, transportation, fuel costs. We had a spike in our electric bills. We have 2 different distributors on 2 different parts of town.
We have Wallingford Electric on the
UI.
Northford side, and then UI down here
and
in North Branford.
At this end, it went up about 16%. So from last year, all of those things play into an increase that gets you up to that 3% without really doing anything.
Right.
In the past we've had to be creative, and I really It's not something that I wanted to do. We took away an academic day for the students. We took away a professional day for the teachers to recoup monies. We had a significant cut, and I was charged with finding an additional $200,000+. So in one swoop, we decreased 2 days from the teaching staff. It costs about $75,000 a day for me to run the district. We also then implemented a participation fee for all athletes at the middle school and high school, and then extracurricular activities as well. We have not seen the numbers that we thought we were going to see to recoup some of that money, and eventually my goal is to do away with it. I'm not in favor.
It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it. I'm not in favor of it. And the last thing I want to do is to have parents who are struggling have to worry about finding the fee of $75 per season. So
per child, too.
Per child.
Yeah.
We cap it. It caps after your second child at no more than $225 for the year. But it's still, you know, I think when you pay your taxes and you're talking about free, appropriate public education, FAPE, that extracurricular activities should be incorporated into that.
Sure.
And that's something that I hope we get to, I hope we can work to, so that we can do away with that charge.
Do we get federal funding as well?
We do. You know, there's grant monies, and they're unpredictable as well. Some of the title money, you know, this year it you know has been consistent, but there's years that we don't. So it's like the ECS money.
Right. It's unpredictable.
It's unpredictable. And when you're going to build a budget, you know, if you're a homeowner and you don't know what your fuel costs are going to be, you don't know if your roof is going to need repair, you don't know if your heater, your water, whatever you have in your home, it's unsettling. And it's been very unsettling for every district in Connecticut this past year.
Right.
Like with times we haven't seen, you know, in many years.
Speaking of infrastructure, though, you're putting in new boilers in the high school, correct?
We are. That's correct.
Which is great.
You know, it's been a long time coming. That high school is 67 years old. It's outdated. The technology is outdated in the building. It's not cost effective to heat and cool the building. We have single pane windows throughout. Many of the windows have they're not functioning anymore, so they are literally screwed shut. So with that being said, a lot of times you're just pouring money out the window.
Right.
The boiler, we were down to one functioning boiler, and we were able to, working with the town, to put a high efficient boiler system in, which will get us the next 30 years of life in that building. That being said, that building is long overdue for a facelift. You know, you're aware of the monies that we spent on the roof. The roof has been put on at $1 million+, and then we did the small gym for several $100,000. So, you know, we're encapsulated.
Because it got wet, though.
Right, and we had some problems, but we're within that footprint. We're not going to add on. We're not going to build a new high school. We put a new boiler system in, as you mentioned. So now it comes down to, if we're going to renovate as new, we need to get a strategic plan, get everyone on board that we are the last town in this surrounding area that has not renovated or rebuilt a high school. And as you know, Morgan High School in Clinton, Connecticut just recently opened.
A couple years ago.
Last year, they opened up their new high school. Guilford High School opened up a state-of-the-art structure on the same site where their high school was. And I've had the opportunity to go into that building, and Morgan as well. And our kids deserve that.
Yeah.
Our faculty deserves that. Our students deserve that.
Well, not only that, the taxpayers deserve it too, because
Sure.
again, it's inefficient lighting, inefficient windows,
Right.
inefficient infrastructure,
Right.
inefficient technology.
Yeah, you look at, well, you're going to buy a house and you drive through Madison, Guilford, Durham, North Branford, Wallingford. Wallingford has a major construction plan going into effect and into play. Coggins-Chog's been done over. East Haven, North Haven are newer high schools in the past 10 years. So, when you look at X amount of dollars and what you're getting, you walk into your flagship school, which is your high school, and you certainly, it doesn't make the quality. I mean, it's bricks and mortar, but if you're shopping for value, curb appeal goes a long way. And that's something that, we need to get a plan, and we need to start the process so that we can turn that building into something that we're all proud of.
I do have to say, though, that I am very proud of the staff that you have, though.
Exceptional.
I mean, they really make the schools what they are today.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because they don't get enough pats on the back as they should. Everyone is aware that Lauren Danner was our Connecticut Teacher of the Year this past year and represented us with such grace and honor. And when the visiting team came in to interview and do breakout sessions with our staff, all of them walked out of there saying, wow, you're the best kept secret. It's amazing what's going on here. When you look at a high school of just over 600 students that has 11 advanced placement courses with 90+% of their students going on to 2- and 4-year colleges, that's exceptional.
Something to be proud of.
It's something to be very proud of, and we were able to do things that many towns have not been able to accomplish on a budget that, when you look at comparatively in the state of Connecticut, we're 120th on per pupil expenditure. So if you look at the 168 districts, we're in that bottom tier, that bottom 30% of what we spend on funding our educational programs. And to be able to boast that our students are competing with the best and the brightest in newer buildings with more opportunities because of funding levels, what we're getting out of our kids, and I say that with great pride, and all of our buildings. We have a dynamic administrative team who really enjoys working with children, challenging children, supporting children, and that trickles down to our staff. And I spend a lot of time in the buildings, and I'm visible to get the pulse and to hear when kids come back and want to be around the school after school, and they come back from college vacation and they're there, and how much they miss the school and the environment. It tells a lot about it. It really does.
Does the state or federal government fund mandates that you guys are setting?
No, that's the frustrating part, one of them, with the whole budgetary process. And a lot of the state legislators get on board with these ideas that they sound good until you put the rubber to the road and you see the impact. And every year in our budget packet, we put together a sheet. And on this sheet, just this alone, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 unfunded mandates. Just that things that have arisen recently that weren't here 10 to 15 years ago. And when you look through, when you look at transportation to VOAG schools and team building PD for teacher certification, the training and record keeping for any new employee, and the extensive background checks, aside from doing a state police background check, but then with DCF and everything else, it takes hours and hours of employee times that we're mandated to do, but there's no resources to help out with it. So it piles up. It becomes quite burdensome on the districts, and we find ourselves going backwards at times because we're not increasing our staffing. We're remaining the same, but being asked to do more.
Do more and more.
More and more.
Now, you present this to council, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How does that go?
So we'll build our final number. We have a board meeting on Thursday night in February, and the board will determine a number. The administration has already presented on 2 different occasions and have answered questions from the Board of Ed on what we feel is going to move the district forward. The board ultimately will decide the number, the percentage increase over this current year's budget that they want to present to the town council. So then we'll meet with the council once we get that number, and if it's lower than what we presented, my administrative team will come back together and we'll reconstruct the budget before presenting it to the council. Once the council gets that number, they then have the decision on what they feel is going to be a responsible number, one that they can afford with all of the factors that play into, obviously, the mill rate and other things that they use to leverage their decision.
Right, because they're under pressure from what the town needs and what the DOE needs.
Right.
And what the taxpayers need.
Yeah, and it's the age-old, we've said it a million times, when people come into town with children, or if they're going to buy these homes, we're building 3 and 4 bedroom homes in Northford and at different parts of the community. I know off of 17 or 22, there's a parcel of land that they're looking to put homes in. If you have 3 or 4 bedrooms, these are families that are coming in with small children.
Right.
And you know, you're looking at your school system.
We're going to have to support them.
Right. Exactly.
If people want to buy those houses.
Right.
What is the most critical issue this year, in your opinion, when it comes to the budget? What is the most critical need? Now, we were talking about infrastructure, so you're going to want to address some of that or begin that process.
Right. I think, you know, looking out long term, it would be the high school renovation project. I think short term in every building, the heating and cooling, making sure that it's conducive to teaching and to learning. You know, you'll get days at the high school where it's 90 degrees on the second floor, and in the wintertime it's 45 in the hallways. No child, no adult should work in those conditions. So, you know, things along those lines. We've band-aided Tucket Valley. There's a new roof on there, but that building is going to need extensive work over time as well. You're looking at a building that's I can't think of the date that Tucket Valley was built, but it's long overdue for
a long time ago
updating. Right. You know, we built NBIS, and you know, that was an interesting project that I inherited. It's not the design that I would have supported, and that doesn't mean that I'm not appreciative of what I inherited. But there's many things within the layout of that building that just have created problems with flat roofs and large heating and cooling units sitting on top of them. We've had a number of problems with water and perforated rubber on those roofs, and it's been a catch that mouse situation.
So we got away from a flat roof up in Northford, though.
Right.
Stanley T.
Tucket Valley. Tucket
right.
Valley went with a pitch tin roof,
right.
and all of the heating and cooling units are underneath that roof, and that's the way to go. It was addressed at the high school. It was not the decision of the council to do that when we did do it.
Whose idea was a flat roof?
You know,
Just wondering.
I don't know. Anyone in New England should travel north to see what they do in
right.
Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont, and you'd understand.
Pitched in metal.
Pitched in metal. And it's attractive. I think it looks great, and you can match your school colors and alleviate a lot of headaches that we have with the flat roof.
Right, right.
So,
what do you like most about North Branford?
The people, without hesitation. It's a community that always rises to the level. I've seen, unfortunately, in my 9 years, some really tragic losses, and I've seen a community that, without hesitation, drops whatever is going on and just comes to the aid of everyone involved. Most recently with the passing of Alan Davis, who just touched so many people for 43 years and thousands of lives.
He was here for 43 years.
43
I know
years.
He was a dear friend of yours.
Yes, yeah. You know,
I know that was a really tough loss for the whole town.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was blessed to have worked with Alan for 9 years, and you know, you can count on one hand those people that you work with in your career that just get it, that do it right. And how many people can you speak of that you've never heard a negative thing about? You know, and that it didn't matter if he was being described as a classroom teacher, as a principal, vice principal, yearbook advisor, waiter at Friendly's.
Right.
You know, Alan Davis was just loved. And, you know, I saw the town, you know, your question, I've seen your town, this town, North Branford, just rally to support when we lost, you know, dear little Lila. And how her spirit still lives on today. Joe Stone, another one years back, and I don't want to name because I know I'm going to leave so many out, but
right.
just
we have had our share of losses.
We've had our share. We've had too many, and I'm always just in awe of how, and that's you know, I think that's the most important thing. You know, I mentioned, you know, it's bricks and mortar of a high school. That what makes North Branford High School a great school are the people inside that building.
Right.
The energy of the kids, the energy of the teachers, the administrators, and how the relationship building and how they function day to day. You know, I remember 3 or 4 years ago, we would walk through the hallway, there'd be 15 garbage pails with water leaking into them. It could be in a classroom, in a hallway, and the kids never complained.
Right.
You know, they walk into bathrooms that are 40, 50, 60 years old, and they don't, you know, they may not use them,
Right.
but they're not complaining.
Right.
They're just grounded kids in the family. So I'm going on and on about that question, but without question, it's the people that I find the greatest asset.
Well, you're a great asset too.
Well,
so
I thank
give yourself
you, Dan.
some credit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would really like to show my appreciation for you joining me today. And you know, this is something I would like to do with some sort of routine with you. You know, maybe we can go over the, you know, after the budget process. I know you're going to be taking up all your time with that.
Sure.
Maybe into the spring to look forward.
Love to.
So I would like to thank everybody for joining me. I would please email me with any questions you may have or feedback with the show at danarmannb@gmail.com. Please help sustain Tutucket TV, which supports our town in video, and please help sustain Tutucket Times, which supports our town in print. Thank you very much, and thank you for joining me for I Want to Know.